The Joe Rogan Experience.
To a large extent, you don't know. For example, if in Hollywood, I wrote my first movie, I think 1979, and the guy who gave me notes on the movie was a guy called Samson Rafelson. Samson Rafelson is famous because he wrote the first talking picture. That's how close I am to the beginning of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I got to
Wow.
so I got to enjoy like 40 years of the great adventure of the movie business. But the movies that I made aren't getting made anymore.
What kind of movies?
Well, independent films, right? Like when I made a bunch. I wrote 30 films for hire, and I directed like 12 films, and which I also wrote. But in those days, there was still a little bit of independence. So somebody said, okay, you know what, kid, I like the script. What's it going to cost? $4 million. Okay, good. Here's $4 million. Go make the movie, and I'll sell it to blah blah. So that was independent film. But that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't?
No, not that I know of. Because not only did that die, the movies are dead. They're dead. The whole idea of movies was, I'm going to get my best gal and my best boy and blah, 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 and we're going to go out on a Friday, Saturday night. We're going to sit in the dark. We're going to eat popcorn. And there's the people that are 20 feet high. They're like gods. We're going to have the best possible time.
Right.
And if I don't like that movie, I'll see another movie, blah, blah, blah. But now the movies are being played on this, right? And the movies have become so corporate, just like Twitter, that all the decisions, they aren't being made by some, the people I grew up with, ancient Jews like me smoking a cigar said, yeah, it seems like a good idea, go make it. They're being made by 30 people sitting around a board table, playing silly buggers and pig Latin with each other's pronouns, right? I get it. Things mature and things die. Who would have thought that Kodak would go out of business?
Right.
They had this magnificent hegemony. They made this little product that cost them nothing. And the more people used it, the more they had to use it. So who at Kodak would say 15 years ago, guys, we have to stop. There's this other thing now.
But they are still making some movies. Like, is it less? Like, is it overall like a lowered production of films? Is it?
No. The problem is always in who holds the high ground, right? Who holds the passes, controls the commerce.
Right.
Who owns the railroads, controls the commerce. Then who owns the blah, blah, blah. Who owns Twitter, controls the commerce.
So it's the suits at these movie
Sure,
studios.
they own the high ground. So when I was starting out in the theater, I had a blessing. I started out in a garage, with William H. Macy and Joe Mantegna and Dennis Franz and Billy Peterson. People who became John Malkovich. The people who became huge stars. We just were working in a garage because we could, and then we eventually moved to Broadway and got some credibility because we could. But if you can only start off by entering at the corporate level, what are you going to do? For example, the people who made the chop shops in Southern California, right? They took cars and they said, wow, this would be a good idea. Let's take the Blazer and cut the roof off. I tell you what, let's take this Jeep and raise the fenders. Let's take blah, blah, blah. Those were guys in a garage, just like me and John Malkovich were in the garage, and all those ideas got adopted by GM, right? Where they looked at this marvelous invention and say, well, that's a good idea. I'll do that. And so last year, Ford bought out another Bronco. But if you take a degree in automotive design and get hired by Ford, you're going to be designing taillights for 10 years, right? So where's the individual initiative? It's not going to exist, as Milton Friedman says, until you give the people with inspiration a reason to reveal it. It's kind of a brilliant thing.
So what's
to
the
say.
bottleneck? Is the bottleneck financial? Is it just too expensive to make films so that they try to make a film that's only going to be financially viable? They don't take any creative choices or chances?
Who wants to make a film that's not going to be financial? Nobody ever
Right.
did. Sometimes the the film was so expensive it didn't matter anymore. The bottleneck is the corporation which controls the high ground with the method of distribution. That's the bottleneck. And okay, over 100 years, vaudeville died and then there was radio, and then radio died, and then there was television, and then the movies, and then television. Then the television drove out the movies are dead, and television becomes streaming. So the method of distribution, I hate to sound like a Marxist, is determining the content, right?
Okay.
So you say, okay, I want to, rather than saying, honey, let's go out and see if there's anything with Clint Eastwood in it. You say, no, I bought a subscription, right? What's on my subscription series? What can I get on Netflix, right? So they're turning out sausages. Of course they are. But the movies were turning out sausages too, to the largest extent. I just had a good time making them.
So I'm still trying to figure out, like, what's this leap that you're making to being like this hardcore conservative or whatever you are.
Well, I don't. The
I mean,
leap is
whatever I don't. Hardcore conservative is wrong.
The leap is I have to be able to understand.
So your business doesn't exist in the way that it existed when you were coming up and making your great films.
For me,
for you,
yeah. Because the other thing is, I was 22 years old. I didn't want to work with Grandpa.
Right.
I get it. Right? The young people have a chance to have their day. The technology changed. Doesn't do any good. I could be the greatest designer of passenger trains in the world.
But they are still making independent films, right?
Yeah, there are a bunch of independent films.
So how do they get made?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Listen, Herman Melville, right, wrote the thing about the big fish. He wrote a book about a big fish, Moby Dick. You remember him?
Yes.
So he says, the first thing he says in the book is there's no different. He says the greatest disparity in the world is between the people who are looking for work and the people who are looking for help. Right? So the people looking for help are always saying, Jesus Christ, I can't get good help. And the people looking for work says, I can't get a job.